All right. Well, welcome to the first of two Eco Athletes, Champions, and Friends brainstorms which is a follow-up on our session a couple months ago, where we had two great speakers, with the topic being turning our clothes into a force for good. So, and we'll recap that in a minute. But before we get into that and our purpose for tonight, I thought we would do some quick introductions. So in 30 seconds, say who you are and what you're excited about, and where you are in the world and the sport that you play if you're an athlete, or what you do, and what you're excited about as it relates to this brainstorm. I'll start. I am Lou Blaustein. I don't play any sport professionally, and that's a good thing for the sports world. I'm the founder of Eco Athletes, and I am in New Jersey, and I am excited to move our conversation forward to the next level, to where we are going to come up with an initiative or two that can really make a difference in the climate comeback through our clothes. And now I will hand it over to Scott.
Thank you, Lou, and welcome everyone. So good to see some of you again, and some of you for the first time. My name is Scott Welch, and I'm the Executive Director of the Loop Foundation. I'm also a non-professional sports player, but you can see behind me, I am a fan. And I'm super excited just being with all of you and knowing that you're excited about this issue, because honestly, we have to make this cool for people to care. And once we make it cool and people care, we can change the world. So super excited to be with y'all.
And Scott, a point of personal privilege, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to explain what the Loop Foundation is.
Sorry about that. Yes. And the Loop Foundation, our goal is really, in essence, to make clothing a force for good. And the way we're addressing that is to try to eliminate waste out of the process, and also eliminate the environmental, social, and economic impacts of the industry.
Awesome. And Looped is a partner in these brainstorms, and was a partner in the first turning clothes into a force for good conversation. I'm now going to pass it over to Oliver.
Hi, everybody. Really nice to meet you all. My name is Oliver. I'm working with Scott at the Loop Foundation. I'm just doing, my field really is marketing, but I'm just helping him out with whatever projects he has.
And he's been, go ahead, Scott.
I said Oliver is very modest. He works on all of our programming, and he's done an excellent job in helping us improve most of our operations. Please check out our website at www.looped.org, and you can see some of his latest work.
Awesome. And now I'm going to introduce our facilitator for the evening, Daniela.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Daniela. I am in Portland, Oregon, just as Scott. I'm originally from Munich, Germany. While I don't play professional sport, I've been an apparel designer in the athletic sport industry. So I've worked for 20 years for Adidas, Nike, Columbia Sportswear, and did all sorts of projects working on the side, and then turned into a coach, transformational facilitator, and breathwork facilitator. I'm so excited to be with you today.
And we are thrilled to have.
Sorry, Lou. We're also fortunate to have Daniela on our technical advisory committee at the Loop Foundation.
Yes, yeah.
Amen. All right, now I'm going to go to Ridian Cowley with the windmills seemingly in his backyard. You're muted. Ridian, we can't hear right now.
There you go.
Now we got you.
Right. Good, here we go. Yeah, I'm Ridian. I'm from Australia. I'm in Melbourne at the moment, where it's winter, which is why I've got my beanie on, and I do the world's most accessible sport, which is walking. And yeah, I'm just excited to find sort of any way where I can sort of help sort of push things along in terms of reducing our collective footprint on the planet. And yeah, it's just good to be able to join with other like-minded people tonight to work on that.
Awesome. And I will say, Ridian is a bit modest. He's a two-time Olympian in race walking, and he's also been a great spokesperson on a variety of climate issues with Eco Athletes and beyond. Now I'm going to turn it over to, at a different part of the world, Susan Dunkley.
Hi all. I'm in Vermont right now. This is my home. I just retired from 14 years of biathlon racing, which is a winter sport. It involves cross-country skiing and rifle marksmanship. And I'm transitioning to a new career working as a director of running programs at an outdoor center, which is a nonprofit in my hometown. And part of the nonprofit's mission is to promote sustainable practices. So it's this cool organization where I'm combining two different passions of mine, which is endurance sport and environmental sustainability. And I'm a little overwhelmed with a lot of different new stuff being thrown at me with my job, but one of the pieces I really want to be aware of and include is to come up with new ideas for how to incorporate sustainable initiatives and education into running programming that I have. So I'm just kind of getting started with that, but I've got my antenna out everywhere I go. And one project that I want to do this fall is a sustainable themed running camp. So I was thinking about doing some educational stuff around textiles with that. So
You came to the right place. Now I'm going to hand it over to Melissa Sailing, also in the Northeast.
Yes. Hi, Lou. Hi, everybody. So my lighting is really bad. I'm actually on a boat where I live, and I'm in Northeast Harbor, Maine, and the founder of Oceanum Vela, which I have started a company repurposing really famous race sails. So if you've ever heard of a company called like Sea Bags or other companies that repurpose sails, it's a little bit different because I'm only taking really elite sails and really technical textile materials. And so I'm really excited to be here because I think it would be really, really cool to collect all the old used sails and get them repurposed and into the supply chain somehow. We have, I mean, just to start with spinnakers, which are nylon and polyester, perfect material, I think, for the sporting world, and also carbon sails. So that's a new textile that we could be using into I don't know what. So very excited to be here, as I have started conversations with a company like Puma, who I've actually collected old race sails from their Volvo Ocean Race boats. And they've been interested in repurposing sails and integrating it into their product line. So nice to meet you all.
It is great to have you, Melissa. I'm so glad that you could come. Now we're going to go over to Erin, who I believe, if I have it right, is only about 10 miles away from where I am, or maybe 15, also in Bergen County. Am I right geographically?
Yeah, I believe it's around 10 miles. So pretty close by. But hi, my name's Erin Marin. I'm a student at Notre Dame and I'm on the rowing team there. And I'm currently working on starting a student group to focus on increasing our sustainability within athletics, because that's currently a top area where our school tends to fall a little short. And I'm really excited to be here tonight to learn more about how we can turn clothing into a force for good, especially being in college. I see a lot of intake of fast fashion, and being in athletics, a lot of overturn of gear year to year, and seeing if there would be a way I can incorporate turning those clothing and gear into a force for good within my student group once we get that rolling.
Awesome. And then last, but definitely not least, is Melissa, I'll say beach volleyball.
Hi, everybody. My name's Melissa. I'm currently in LA, but I'm from Toronto, Canada. I play for Team Canada. I'm a beach volleyball player and was just at the Tokyo Olympics and am prepping for Paris 2024. I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here and to learn. I'm also on the board of the Canadian Olympic Committee Athletes Commission, as well as the Pan Am Athletes Commission. And one of the initiatives I've tried to start there recently is the sport and sustainability initiatives and buckets on both those commissions, and just seeing what we can do to engage athletes and what are some things from that range across the board, including textiles and clothing, what we can do to help repurpose, minimize, just to be more aware. I know for myself, one of something that I feel quite guilty about is my closet, which I don't actually use a lot of because I'm constantly on the road living out of a suitcase. And then also relationships with sponsors who, you know, and just like their practices and how best to kind of approach them and what to do in those situations. I personally, just a little backstory, I'm sponsored by Lululemon, which I love, fantastic organization. I know they have probably some malpractices in terms of production and manufacturing. I know and this may be greenwashing, so I would love to hear more about this, but I know they've just recently released a couple of initiatives about, I think it's like new, so you can bring in your old Lululemon gear and they will repurpose it, which I thought was a great initiative, but I would love to hear from maybe experts if that is just greenwashing. But yeah, so that's kind of some of my qualms, I guess, is just understanding my relationship to sponsors and my relationship to clothing and being an eco athlete.
Those are several challenges that you've just kind of thrown out there, which is really, it's really a good thing that you are on this brainstorm. And so we are going to set the stage now. And I mean, this group that we have, I am so excited with both the facilitators and Scott and Oliver, and especially the champions, and Melissa Callison, who is a champion in her own right, starting Oceana and Bella. I am excited. This group is, let's go. Now enough preamble. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna share my screen. And so just give me a sec. Does that work? Okay, so just a quick recap from our last conversation, which was more of an introduction to the idea of how to make our clothes a force for good. And we had two speakers, not pictured here, Lauren Lou Barnes, who is an Eco Athletes champion and who is the captain of the OL Reign of the National Women's Soccer League, spoke about her development of something called the MAD kits. Make a difference is what MAD stands for in this case. And basically she has found for every product in the team's locker room a greener alternative, whether it be food, cutlery, healthcare products, personal care products, and she's turned them into a kit. And now she's also very much interested in doing something like that with clothing. Then and that led into our talk from Maxine Bada, pictured here, who is the author of a book called Unraveled: The Life and Death of a Garment. And if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. And so she is also the CEO of something called the New Standards Institute, which is providing sustainability standards across for the apparel industry. And she's also leading an effort to get the Fashion Act passed in the New York State legislature. So she spoke to us, and really the main things that she talked about were, how can we reduce carbon emissions in the apparel world? Buy clothes less frequently. You know, so and also extend the life of our clothing. Those two are related. And then choose climate responsible options when we do buy. Those were her three main points. And then, when we were talking about, sustainability and climate and carbon emissions, to be sure. However, she also brought in the very important aspect of the sustainability discussion in terms of the lives of the people in the apparel industry, most of whom are women, and how they have been subjugated and abused over centuries. And is there a way that we can improve apparel industry workers' lives? She says yes, so, and emphatically so. Support brands that employ sustainable practices and are paying living wage throughout the entire supply chain. So that, in a nutshell, is what Maxine was talking about. Then we had a robust discussion of, and a lot of Q&A. Maybe some of you have seen the video of that session. And so where we came out was that, okay, let's have another session. Now we want to, we have kind of had, force for making clothing, turning clothing into a force for good 101. Now, how can we do it? And so that's what we want to use this session to at least start to do. So with that as background, I'm now going to hand it over to Scott to move us forward. Scott? Are you there? Uh-oh.
No, I was muted. Thanks, Lou, and thanks for the introduction. I guess I'll start really with the first question that was asked right before you started, Lou, about reselling and as a strategy. And that goes back to one of the points that Maxine really put forward is the number one thing we can do to make our clothing more sustainable is simply wear it more. And so we're not really looking at doing incredible things to make incredible impact. It's really just building awareness. Those of you that were at the workshop, think back to that workshop and think about how you felt when you learned some of this and how did it make you feel? Did it change any of your behaviors potentially after you saw it? Did you talk to anyone about it? What did you share with them? I think that's really the first step to making clothing a force for good. Why it's so important is clothing is one thing that we all share as humans and we can't live without it. So if we can make it a force for good, we can really attack climate change and some of the other impacts associated with it. Also, clothing represents people, not only to themselves, but to others in the community. So if you can tie sustainability and that awareness to how people dress and how they represent themselves, it now becomes part of their life. And if we can make that happen, we truly win. What we're talking about today is how can we share this awareness that we gained through Maxine's workshop with the amount of fans that follow you all. You guys are all great influencers. As I mentioned quickly, how do we make this cool? This is how we make it cool. We share it out. So the idea is we were thinking, could we come up with potentially a collective campaign where we combined our reach via social media or some other vehicle to help educate consumers around the world? And then also, could we work with some of you individually to develop local projects similar to some of the ones that were brought up leading into this conversation? Go ahead and go to the next slide, Lou.
Yep.
Before we talk about both a collective and an individual project, we wanted you all to sort of think about kind of where you want to fit and where is your sweet spot. We don't want to limit your participation. So if you wanted to be part of a collective campaign and do an individual one, that's awesome. But this was just sort of some thought starters. What does the world need? What are you specifically passionate about? And then what is your preferred form of communication? And if we can find something that lands in that sweet spot where the point of the arrow is, then I think we'll really be onto something. All right, Lou, come over to the next one. So an example of a collective campaign that was started by two women and ended up being participated by people in over 100 countries happened after a tragic incident in Rana Plaza in Bangladesh. It was probably the worst tragedy in textile manufacturing history, where a building collapsed on itself. That led to really a global call to improve the situation. But it also led to the industry just saying, hey, people need to know who make your clothes, and people have no idea. If you think about it, you don't really consider that when you go to your closet or when you get dressed every day, who might have touched this clothing or who helped make it. So they did a really simple Instagram campaign where they had clothing workers just simply take a picture of themselves with that placard, I made your clothes, and super powerful. It also showed some of the diversity that makes our clothes, but then again, it showed some of the non-diversity that makes our clothes and where all that is focused. It didn't shame any specific company, so it didn't go out for controversy. It didn't go out for clickbait, I guess, or some sort of strategy like that. It really went out to educate, and it went out to really play on humanity and thinking about there's actual people as part of this process. So if I get a special deal at H&M, what did it mean to those people? Or what does it mean for me to have all these, and why couldn't they afford it? Or it just makes it human. And honestly, one of the challenges to moving forward in this space is that brands have been really good about talking about this in the form of resources, but not in the form of humanity. And it's real easy to look the other way when resources are used, but it's a lot harder to look away when humanity is impacted. Go ahead to the next slide. This would be an example of an individual campaign. I know initially an individual campaign might seem sort of overwhelming to all of you. You're athletes, you have very packed schedules, you have events that happen, you have travel, but you also usually have partnerships with organizations, you have passions. And this was the case with CJ McCollum, who now plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, but was recently a Portland Trailblazer. We were able to build a partnership with him in Portland, and he's a big fan of sustainability. He actually has the most sustainable winery in Oregon, for instance. He also has been a big investor in Boys and Girls Clubs. He built the CJ McCollum Dream Center, where students could actually do homework and research and access technology. And so his idea was, how do we use clothing to introduce sustainability to kids and actually make it real? And so we created a curriculum with the Boys and Girls Club. We received some funding from a local government agency, the Department of Environmental Quality here in Oregon. That program is now actually being taught statewide. We created 3 phases of it so we could fine tune the curriculum after each phase to make sure it was as effective as possible. We'll then actually make it available for free after this year so that other after school programs or homeschool teachers or whoever could use it. And this is something we could very simply do with any of you guys in your local region. Vermont would be a great place for us to do something at the educational school. So that would be an easy fit. We've also created curriculum for the University of Oregon's sports product management program, and we are working with a few other entities as well. So those are some examples. If you choose to want to do an individual program, we will lead the development of the program. We're not expecting you to be a curriculum expert, not expecting you to spend hundreds of hours on this. If you can imagine how busy CJ is, we built this curriculum in a season that he was playing, and he got traded mid-season, and we were able to make it happen. So we can definitely make it happen with you guys as well.
Now we'll hand it over to Daniela, and I realize I should put this on slideshow mode. That would be good, right? Instead of seeing the whole, there we go. Daniela?
Yes. Yes, I'm here. So this is, how am I gonna start? So this is a quote that I shared with the team that's here on the panel today that really resonated with me and that gave me hope. That was, the 20th century was all about getting you to love the things we make, and the 21st century is all about how to make the things you love. And this from Tom Vucek, and I really, it's something that I've shared too. So for me, it has always been about the energy. It has been about when designing for companies, I always wanted to design into how would the wearer feel in it? What is the energy that they're feeling inside their bodies, and especially with athletes, you know, so that they feel invincible. And you know more than anybody else how important the energy is to you when you are performing, and how your state of mind and how you think and how you feel impacts your energy, and in turn then your performance. And there are some really interesting stats I also wanted to share with you. We're going to go into some energy related work later on through the brainstorm. I want to try something out. I'm very excited, where we're bringing some breath work and transformational the module into the brainstorm. So it's going to be a little bit different. But I want to share some stats as well that I find mind-blowing all the time. Currently, every time I look it up, it seems to be going up. Currently, we are producing as an apparel industry between 80 and 150 billion items of clothes each year. 63% of those are never worn. On average, a clothing item is worn around 7 times before it lands on the landfill. We're actually throwing away, what was it, 500? Scott, you had it on your website, like an enormous amount of resources, financial resources that we are throwing away every year. We're throwing away a garbage truck full of textile waste every second in the US. And so for me, it was very interesting to think about why is this happening? What is our consumption? What is it a symptom of? And I truly believe that it is that we are feeling like a void or something that's lacking inside of us that we're filling with external stuff. And so I love what the sustainability movement has done and bringing more awareness. And what is shocking to me in all of this is that in the last 20 years, 10 of which has been like the awareness has grown and grown and grown. And yet in the last 20 years overall, our consumption quadrupled 400%. And so I believe that when we do something in the energy, like it depends on what the energy we're in doing something. Are we making decisions from the energy of shame or guilt, or are we doing something in the energy of love? And I believe that people will do something if they feel that they have a benefit from themselves. So in my vision for the future is that conscious clothing that is produced consciously from beginning to end and sustainable and ethically will become the next wave of what sustainable food, organic food what the food industry went through, and what cosmetics went through. So I believe that apparel is the next level for that. And I just wanted to, so for me, it was really interesting to think, okay, how can clothes be really something that people want to do for their own well-being, And so talking or tapping into a couple of things that were said earlier as well is what is the energy that the products were produced in? Was it produced with the energy of suffering or pride and love? So that was one aspect of it. And there is actually a research study done about the energy of fabrics, the vibrational frequencies of fabrics. That was done in 2003 by a lady called Dr. Heidi Yellen. And she did this research study where there was a baseline on the human body that was at 100. Organic cotton was also vibrating at 100. Regular cotton was a little lower, 70 or 80, which is still supportive for the body. Linen and wool were at 5,000 each. And polyester and nylon were very low vibrating materials. So that was kind of interesting to me. So let's move. So I gave you a little bit of this context about energy and why I believe that energy is so important in which energy we are making things, in which energy we are performing, and from, you know, and what is the source from which we are acting. And I know for you, it's you probably know more than many other humans, is that there is something in you that already knows when you're going to win. Like there's something in your energy, in the body, in your mindset. There's just something where you know. And so today I want to tap into like this knowingness that is already existing, so that you can access, you know, different ideas or new ideas. And you know, Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. And so today I invite you to to experiment and play with me. Who's ready to go into like a different level of consciousness just for this exercise? Who's ready for that? Just give me something. Give me something. Awesome. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do, how this is gonna be, we're gonna utilize some breath work in this session as well. So we're just gonna do a 5-minute breath work session in here. And I'm gonna guide you through this. The breath pattern we're gonna do is a very simple one. It is an inhale through the nose and an exhale through the mouth, and it sounds and looks something like this. And you can try this out right now, and you can immediately feel how you're shifting in a different state. Beautiful, exactly. So what you might feel in your body when you breathe consciously, you might feel tingling sensations in your body. You might feel cold, heat, pressure. So that's all normal, and it will go away when we come back right after the minute. So I'll guide you through this. It'll be about 5 minutes. There will be a kind of like a guided meditation with closed eyes. And afterwards, you'll have some time with some music in the background to just journal to whatever was present, whatever insights you got, whatever is already kind of there or right for you. So it's really getting into out of our heads for this, where we're thinking or strategically in our structured mind about solutions and going wider with like a wider awareness. It's kind of where inspiration kind of just drops in. And and so let's just be curious about what comes through, what kind of ideas might be there, what is some insight that might come up that you cannot have access just from the structured mind, right? But from open awareness more so. All right, are you guys ready? Yeah, all right. Okay. Oh, you know what? I need to share my. Perfect. Okay, just let me know if you can hear this and if you can hear my voice. Okay, perfect. Okay. So for this, if it's safe for you to do so, I invite you to close your eyes and just really become comfortable and settle in your space, let's start with 3 deep inhales and exhales. Inhale through your nose, all the way in, exhale all the way out, releasing everything from your body. Do this 2 more times. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Beautiful, that's it. And one last time, inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And just bring your awareness all inside your own body, from all the places that your awareness has been so far today. And just really drop from your head into your body. Yeah, if you want to move your body around, that's beautiful. And start inhaling through your nose, out through the mouth. Beautiful, that's it. That's it. And just imagine you being in an ocean, being in a sea, and you know there's a wave coming. It's already building. It's a wave of change, of courage, of ideas, of people coming together for change, to turn this around. And you can see the wave forming. And it's rising up, it's rising up. And you can feel it in your bones, in your skin. There it is. You know, all you've got to do is catch the wave at the right time, the right moment. And the moment is coming. Just continue to breathe. Beautiful. There it is. There it is. Mm-hmm. And now, without thinking, I'd like you to just stay in that space and let the images come. It might be images, it might be words, experiences, feelings. And whenever you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes and take a journal, a piece of paper, and a pen, and just journal. Just write down feelings, images, whatever has come. That's it. And it's okay to stay. Just stay in that state of expanded awareness. Do you want a couple more minutes? Or just give me an okay when you feel you're ready. Thank you. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing. So I just invite shares now. What came up for you, and is there anything that you'd like to share of what came up, whether it's feelings, ideas, images? And nothing is, everything is right. Any share is right. There's no, there's no wrong idea, because any idea that might come up will spark someone else. And so it's like ping pong. It's just going to go up. And who would like to go first?
I can share.
Thanks. Thank you, Melissa.
Some of the images that I saw, I don't know if anyone else saw, but the images that were going viral about the Atacama Desert in Chile, and the fast fashion there. I just kind of, when I was doing my breath work and thinking, I saw that, and it was really just, it hit home in a few ways. One, I am Chilean, my parents are Chilean. Two, the Pan Am Games are in Chile next year. So it sits very close to home for being on the board and stuff. And then also just envisioning the amount of clothing there was there. I felt also like a bit of guilt and hypocrisy, because I have a closet full of clothes and I have disposed of clothes, and I'm sure it's ended up in similar places, and it's kind of like a stark slap in the face of, I didn't maybe necessarily contribute to that exact image, but I have contributed. And then, throughout the process of the breath work, turning that kind of guilt and sadness and anger into motivation and hopefulness, and I didn't really have come to a conclusion, but that was kind of the imagery that I had.
Wow, thank you. You know what? I have not even seen those images, and so I'm very curious to see that. And what I can pick up on is that there is something there with like an event that somehow can be super powerful to bring awareness to people like me, who is in the industry, and I don't know everything. Way not.
I'll share the articles in the chat here.
Yeah, thank you.
That's super interesting, because I kind of had a similar experience. I was at first like feeling thrilled because I was surfing the wave. And I can't surf. First I was in my boat surfing the wave, but then that only lasts like so long on a boat. And so then I got on the surfboard and I was like, woo, surfing the wave. And so it was like thrill, yeah, change. But then and then the wave turned into plastic marine debris, and I was getting tangled up in plastic. And then I got really sad because I felt like it is going to drown us. And I'm like, is there hope? And I think it was really interesting that you said that this consumption is like fulfilling a need, and it might be, but it's a false need. And that makes me so angry, because it's marketing. And going back to what Scott said, campaign, like we have to change the narrative of marketing. I mean, plastic is not really recyclable. It's not recycled. It was all it's fraud by the petroleum companies. They created this marketing scheme that we could recycle it. And well, it's all ending up in the oceans now. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
we need to change marketing and business, like sustainable business. Like I really struggle having a business that it depends on consumerism, because I don't want people to buy things that they don't need.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Super impactful, right? Like one is that anger, like anger is a force for good. It can be used as a force for good. And yes, consumption, like our society is built on consumerism and keeping this alive, keeping the illusion alive that we can
the illusion,
buy
exactly.
our way. Yeah, we can buy our way into wholeness.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so good. Thank you.
I was
Susan, yeah.
mostly just floating on the wave.
Mhm.
But it was, I mean, I started surfing a little bit too. Just, I wasn't on a surfboard or anything, but I was just kind of riding this
Mhm.
wave. And the sea was really dark and moody in a lot of ways. And I mean, the image that you suggested was to kind of be with a crowd of people, but a lot of it was feeling like I was by myself.
Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
at one point, the clouds kind of parted and this ray of light came down, and it was this two realities at once, this kind of late afternoon golden glow in one patch of the water and this darker water all around it, which was predominantly everywhere else, most of the landscape, the ocean landscape was covered by. But I guess it's just gets at kind of how this whole sustainability talk can feel sometimes, is you can get really overwhelmed by all the
Right.
doom and gloom of it all. And I think that's something
Yes.
that we definitely need to be
Yeah.
addressing, especially considering the mental health crisis and all this other stuff that's hitting everybody right now. And it's in order to be effective at making change, somehow being able to spend things in a positive, hopeful way is so important.
Mhm.
I was also on a slightly different tangent here, talking about clothing and having lots of it that you don't necessarily need and feeling that guilt. I just got my duffel bags shipped here from after Beijing. They give us so much free clothes from the U.S. Olympic Committee, and they just showed up in my house today. Long story short, there's 3 giant duffel bags with
Mhm.
stuff that I probably won't wear that often, to be honest, because it's designed for a very specific event. It's covered in logos, which I don't really want to walk around all year with, like USA Olympic team stuff wearing like all the time. I don't know. And like, what am I need to figure out what to do with it. And it's just every time I see that sort of stuff, it's just, we got 3 or 4 times as much stuff as we really needed, at least, for an event like that. And it's so wasteful. And yes, there's so many things about that whole Olympic movement that can be so painful sometimes to, I don't know. It's so corporate.
Yeah,
And so
my experience with like the Olympic stuff as well is it ends up being up to the individual about how you get rid of your excess Olympic kit. So
yeah,
if you think about it, you might find ways to gift it or to donate it. But if other people like aren't thinking about it, it might just get sent to the landfill. And a lot of the uniform has like synthetic fibers in it, which means that they're not even going to break down in the same way that natural fibers will. And that impacts the land, and if it leaches into the water, it impacts the water system as well.
yeah.
So
Sorry.
yeah.
And it's interesting because like the whole, what we mentioned at the very start of this talk is the single biggest thing we can do impact wise with textiles is to wear it more. So trying to put this sort of stuff in the hands of somebody who would actually wear it, not just hang it on a wall or not just have it sit in a closet, because it's a very specific sort of item and not everybody's going to feel comfortable wearing something like that.
And Susan,
Or
it's
repurpose
interesting.
it into
Oh, please go ahead, Melissa.
oh, sorry. I said, or repurpose it into something different.
Yeah.
You mean like
There's an
sales?
issue that one of our advisory committee members is one of the CSR staffers at Ralph Lauren, and she was calling out the same issue that you just demonstrated with the duffel bags. And her idea was, could we have that gear turned back in at the end of the year, and then we turn circularity into the next Olympics uniforms. When they pitched that out a bit, and there were some athletes that were like, yeah, because I already have my whatever uniform I did my event in is not this, so I can keep that for sort of a keepsake potentially. I don't really need all the walking around clothes, but other athletes were like, oh, I want to keep all this. So
Yeah, I mean, it's such an emotional thing because you work your whole life towards something, and if you make it, and it's such a huge thing to make that, and like suddenly you're going to remember this event forever, and this is has so much emotional attachment to you. But from my perspective, I feel like you don't need 3 duffel bags worth of stuff to do that. You could have a few items that are really good, nice quality items that you will wear for the rest of your life and hold on to. But so much of it, it's just not, it's not going to get used. Like we said, we got to wear it more. So
I just want to, we were supposed to stop at the bottom of the hour,
Right.
but we started a bit, it took longer to get going, and I apologize for that because I think I might have been a little bit long-winded at the start. So if you can stay, Daniela, can you stay on for like to 45 past the hour? If you have to go.
I can. I'm here.
Yes, if anybody else has to go, I understand, and I'm sorry that I was too verbose at the beginning. But if you can stay on for up till 45 past the hour, I think we can have some, make some more headway. And so I just wanted to say, if it's okay, because like at first I just saw this big circle, and I didn't know what that was. And then, and then I started thinking circularity. And then I started seeing, like, I started seeing a big, like, masses of people bringing clothes to a sports event, dumping them into bins that would then be turned into recycled clothing or looped. Like, I got very tactical, but this made me feel really good, because at the beginning, when I saw the circle and there was nothing in it, not that I wanted it to be filled with stuff, but I felt this emptiness. I felt this, that there were, and the empty circle was like a metaphor for hopelessness, or there was. And then when there was all this activity and people were bringing stuff to a stadium, I think it was Notre Dame Stadium, Aaron, play like a champion today. It was like there was this hope, and I don't know if it's false hope, but it went from this like low feeling to this high feeling. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Awesome.
Any other athletes want to share? I just want to say that the topics that were touched on initially, you guys may not even realize how big they were. When you think about the Pan Am Games and you think about Central America and South America, that's where production of clothing is coming. It's going to be more centralized. So that's going to be a huge change if we can educate that region to avoid the impacts that have occurred in Southeast Asia, or address those. That's huge, especially through an organization that works with all of those countries. I mean, that's a huge opportunity. Thinking about ocean plastic, it's a nightmare. In 2050, we're expected to have more weight in plastic in the ocean than the actual weight of fish in the ocean, which is hugely depressing. And water is life. So if we don't take care of our water, we all die. So you guys are, even if you're pulling up something that came from the exercise and may seem maybe abstract, it's really not. Everything that you guys have brought up is top of mind and things we have to act on. So thank you so much. And those of you who haven't shared, even if you think it's random, it's probably going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, do you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I kind of had similar thoughts to Lou, and just like circularity of things coming and going and how things like pass through our life. And then a lot, I was thinking about that, how like clothes, there's a lot of clothes too that just kind of like they come into your life and then they go out and they'll just, you never see them again. Just like anything, any moment, any breath, anything in time, and just how it's, I think if people are more conscious of that, maybe they'll stop and reflect on it a bit more. Um, and how I think there's just too many of us running a super fast-paced life, and that we just don't really give many things a second thought. And I think that's one of the big problems, which leads to the increase in waste, and just try to grab the most convenient thing, and then when it's not convenient for you anymore, throw it out the door. And then similar to like Susan too, with like all of her bags of clothes, I was thinking then to like our team's locker room, and how we at the end of the year there's always a huge bin full of clothes that people don't wear or never took the tags off of, and we all just, people just throw it in, and I have no idea what happens to that at the end. And I was want to see then I could figure out maybe what happens with all that unused gear, the gear that people are done with or don't want anymore, and if there's a way to then bring it back and circulate maybe back through like new members of the team rather than buying new stuff, and try to reduce that. And it just had me thinking about like that situation in my own like personal small little bubble that I'm currently in, and how maybe since it's on a little bit of a smaller scale, if there's anything I could do to kind of help close that circle and keep it there.
Well, you are at Notre Dame, and then, you know, they have a football team that is pretty, you know, big. I mean, I'm actually thinking, and I don't know the exact idea, but somewhere around this idea of unused clothing from athletes, is there a way to, either through eco athletes or however, like, to have an athletes give back clothing program where either through your governing body, like in the case of Melissa Beach Volleyball, you know, either through Team Canada across sports or through AVP in beach volleyball, like all the swag that you get. Now, there may be sponsors may not like that because they're giving you this, but you know what? We're trying to make a statement. Anyway,
So what if you tied that, if you combine that with youth sports? So you think about youth sports is a monstrous waste of apparel, because think about all the stuff you get. Well, think about every 12-year-old playing baseball, soccer, lacrosse, whatever. Their stuff doesn't last either. They grow out of it. If it's hockey, it smells so bad it's not even allowed in the house. So it's a nightmare to deal with. But you guys as athletes are those influencers, and if there were some sort of take back program like Lou's talking about that informed how leagues could do it, or there was some connection where leagues that did it well benefited with some of this gear of the athletes that all the students looked up to, or that was some way to use that gear as prizes to get these leagues to compete against each other to find better uses for their stuff, or that's where I think you can build a movement. And that's kind of the idea of working with you guys as athletes. Like, people already think you guys are cool and they're looking up to you, and you guys have this awareness, even if you have maybe a bit of a guilty awareness today, don't, because you have influence, and you have more influence than most other people. So you can make the change and you can accelerate that change because of your position.
Ridian, you have your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, like, whether it's for athletes or for the greater population, like you need to make it easy for them to be able to go and participate in these projects. So like, you know, there's lots of stuff at home, for example, that I can recycle but can't necessarily go in the recycle bin. So if I'm thinking about it, you know, I can separate things out and take them off to different places to get recycled. That's not really easy. So it means that some people will do it, but a lot of people won't do it. And, you know, it's the same with clothes. And then also I was thinking, circling back to like just the team stuff, for example, when you get your Olympic uniform, like, you know, you're not just getting synthetic fiber clothes, but also they're usually coming in their own individual plastic bags. So there's lots and lots of plastic associated with even just getting the clothes in the first place as well. And yeah, that's something that I really noticed last year getting my Olympic stuff. It's just like you end up with basically a room full of soft plastic when you've tried to take all the clothes out of it, the plastic bags.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that's a bit of low-hanging fruit to resolve from a procurement end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got that. Yeah, lots of plastic. That is for sure.
Melissa, oh, I have a question.
mm.
Melissa Sailing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you're hearing all this and you're in the business. You know, is some kind of like clothes give backs, unused clothes give back, is, you know, when you hear that, what do you hear? In other words, like, does this spark your mind in the?
Well, I've been focusing so much on sale material and getting that into the supply chain, or selling my own products. For clothes, I mean, I think that it's a fabulous idea. I mean, personally, I only actually buy like used clothes if I can, or at least from the best, companies out there that I can find. Again, I think it's marketing, and it's like I'm agreeing with Scott. Like, these athletes have the influence, and I think it's fabulous to get people to start thinking differently and to retrain their need and what's cool, and and sustainability, unfortunately, I'm looking at the gear that the Ocean Race, which is, tots like sustainability all the time, and it's boring and brand new and created by Helly Hansen, and like, where's their upcycled stuff? I guess they have a new watch, which that's kind of cool, but their old sales turned into gear doesn't fit their new line of memorabilia or of merchandise. Like, why? Like, how do we get that spark? How do we change that? Like, commercialism shouldn't just be brand new and boring and more stuff.
I mean, Patagonia tries to do that in a way, right? Like they
resell their stuff, right?
Yeah.
If that, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But that's, is there a way that athletes, you all, not that using the platform of athletes, that we can kind of accelerate that and scale that and broaden it, because the Patagonia marketplace is, very high end. And
I think it's possible to make a bit of a pitch to suppliers on the basis that it's free good publicity for them to help facilitate a bit more sustainable end of life thing for at least elite sports apparel, and then that can be like a bit of a pilot that can hopefully be turned into something that extends to just the general public apparel as well.
I think that's smart. That actually brings me back to what in the exercise, what I saw was, first I saw this huge global problem. And then I started thinking about the diversity in this call, and also of the people that will be on the next call, and thinking, well, we have this huge global problem that we all share, but yet we're looking at it from all these different perspectives, and it's affecting us in all these different ways. which actually was power, right? Because now we have this power to think about this problem in a new way because we all face it, but yet we all think differently. And thinking back to Daniela saying we have to think of the solution in a different space than the problem, that again was where this diversity comes through, because the problem honestly in this industry was created by like 50 white elderly men that are billionaires, and that's who's benefiting from this problem while the world is suffering, which there's really no reason that power dynamic should still exist in a world where we've seen the power of diversity. And that really gave me hope, and that also gave me hope thinking about you all, because thinking about your diversity of sport, your diversity of influence, that's where we make the difference. The brands will change in a hurry. If you think about the US in 1969, for instance, 98% of all the clothing in the US was made in the US. Today, less than 2% of that clothing is made in the US. That's a pretty quick transfer. They will move at the push of consumers. So once consumers demand better clothing, the brands will make better clothing. There's a lot of margin right now in apparel production. There's room for them to improve their operation and still be profitable. It just needs to be a demand from the public.
Yeah. I had a couple of thoughts. One was for you athletes, the thing that is like the red line through is swag. So maybe there is an acronym we can change what swag stands for. I don't know, sustainability, waste, action, go. I don't know, I don't know what that is, but can we rename swag, just give it a different meaning? And then what Melissa used,
Cool. So
just coming from this, right? What you said about the event that's coming up next year. This is a lot of time to actually put a project or an art project or team up with an artist who can make that wave or, out of swag and just show the problem. And then, that how overwhelming this is. So maybe there is something there that can really have a very symbolic, cheeky, but memorable experience to see what that problem is that sparks other ideas in people. And then the last thing I wanted to share that came up in like from what I believe is that there's two things that on an individual level we can do. First of all, we only buy what we love. And if we get to this point that we only buy what we love, because that we don't throw away. And then the second one is to no longer, to be curious about like that, the void or that need to numb. And I think as you as athletes, you go beyond your limitations. You sit in the, you are friending the pain or the monotony, and that just like this capacity to sit in it, that could teach others to just be curious about like what, like, okay, I'm uncomfortable here. Maybe I can be a little bit more uncomfortable and curious and stay with that versus just going and buying to numb for a minute. So these were the things that came through all this. I think this was like fantastic, like what everybody said, so much here.
And I know we're up on time, but I just, from what you were talking about, Daniela, another thought came to me, and I don't have it fully formed, but I'm just realizing that, okay, so we've got, they're almost like, I was seeing an axis, right? X and Y axis. And there is like a lot of stuff, like stuff on the Y axis but do we want stuff or do we want experiences? Athletes provide experiences. Athletes provide moments that we will remember some of them we remember forever. They provide feeling. You guys provide
Inspiration. Yes.
inspiration.
Yeah.
You can't wear that. Yes, you can wear like, a Jets jersey or whatever. But and I'm sorry this is at the end of this, but I'm going to try and carry this through to the Thursday one, because I think perhaps maybe, I don't know, it just seemed like such a stark contrast. Like we're obsessing about stuff, and yet what we want are experiences. And athletes give us experiences.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. I see that. Okay, swag, swear to wear all garments. Susan talking about working with the students on what that acronym could stand for.
Yes.
Melissa, you just shared Von Wong, yeah, an artist. I don't know his or her work or their work, but I think yes, I'm like totally like, how can this be like a multi? Yeah. Yes.
He's
like,
fantastic.
How can this? Yeah, I will. I'm just gonna copy this to check it out. So really like a multi-sensational experience for everyone, like inspiration, aspiration, bringing up new ideas, like just poking the bee a little. Yeah.
Well,
all right, we are kind of
yes, we are up on time. Any last thoughts from any of the athletes before we head off to your day, to your night, for me to sleep?
I just wanted to throw out one other kind of idea to put on people's radar. Like there's a small college in our town that's kind of focused on more environmental stuff. And they've got a crew that started teaching clothing repair, gear repair and stuff. It's a very small scale. And there's way more demand, and they're getting asked to come to all these events now. And there's only a few of them, and they're just totally maxed out. But they went to this bike race, this gravel race in our area that has hundreds of people at it, called Rasputitsa. But it was just like, it like took off, and there's so much like getting that sort of stuff at a big sporting event and pushing clothing repair and stuff. It was cool. People were embracing it. I mean, trying to get that sort of thing engaged in more places and more people trained up for how to do that, I think could be a really interesting thing to do.
And anyone else?
I just want to echo that little, I mean, it all starts with awareness, right? Because awareness builds that interest, and then it becomes hopefully part of your action. Just to follow that up with what we're doing today, don't feel like we're leaving it off here. We have another brainstorm meeting coming up, and we'll basically combine the ideas from both meetings and have a third meeting for all of you who want to do a collective campaign, so that we can figure out how we're going to do it. For any of you that want to do individual campaigns, we can work with you individually. We don't need to have a big collective meeting for that. We want to find out what you care about, what you're thinking about, who the audience could be, who partners could be, who funders can be. We can work with you guys at your timeline and your time schedule in doing that. So just contact Lou and let him know if you're interested, and we can organize that together.
Yep. And we will be, what we're going to end up doing is, after the second one on Thursday, and if any of you want to come to a second one, you're more than welcome, 10:30 in the morning Eastern, we are going to, like, when the House and the Senate in the United States have different bills, we're going to have a conference, and we're going to meld all the ideas together, and then we will share them with you guys, and then with the rest of the champions world as well. And then we will, like Scott says, if indicated, if there's a campaign that comes out of it, we will invite you all into that. And then we can also do individual programs. And I want to thank Scott and Oliver and Daniela for an eye-opening and at times eye-closing event. I really appreciate it. And I can't thank our Eco Athletes champions enough, and also Melissa Avosian and Bella, who brought such an outstanding and unique perspective to it all. I really appreciate everybody.
Thank you for putting this together, putting this group together. It's fabulous. So
And
nice to meet you all.
so we will be in touch.
Thank you all for caring, and thank you all for coming.
Yes. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Melissa, sorry, did you say you know Von Wong?
I've never met him in person, but yes, we've spoken and have corresponded quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Do you mind
Yeah.
connecting me with him? I was just about to shoot him a message and see if he'd be able to create some kind of activation for the Pan Am Games in Chile based off of the fast fashion graveyard in the Atacama Desert.
So back to Danielle's idea, like what she was talking about that event, right?
The Pan Am.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was thinking when she like
Yeah.
said her idea. I was like, oh my gosh, Von Wong.
Yeah, totally.
That's what he does.
Wow, his work is amazing too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really, really good. So I've wanted him to do something very, very similar with the sails and plastic marine debris for the ocean race. Like that's my big idea at the moment. So yeah, I'm happy to either connect you, or if you reach out to him, I'm sure he'll
Oh, perfect. Okay.
you don't hear from him, let me.
Okay.
Melissa, if you would like, I could connect you guys to each other.
Yeah, I think your email is on the email for this link. So I could find yours there, but that would be great, Lou. Yeah, definitely connect us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Oh, incredible. I mean, can I just say, I think I saw Von Wong's art somewhere. And that was the image that just came in when Melissa was talking, and the ocean and blah, blah, blah. So that came, and that now you are on here knowing him and being able to make this connection. I mean, this is like where where the wave is going, right? It wants us to go.
I love that. No, I appreciate. Yeah, thanks for the idea, Daniela, and thank you for mentioning Von Wong, Melissa. So I hope we can make something work. I'll definitely see what's possible. But yeah, this is exciting.
Great. Yeah, no one here.
Awesome.
and
Help out anyway.
and enjoy LA. Are you practicing out there?
Yes, I'm only here until Sunday, and then we're off to Europe for 5 weeks. So yeah.
Good luck on that swing.
But we will take Melissa Squared Power anytime. So
Yeah.
whatever you guys
Yeah,
want to do, we're there.
Come on down. We have the World Championships in Italy. So
Nice.
Ooh, we're in Italy.
Rome.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I will introduce you guys. We'll be back in touch with kind of the mashup of what we come up with. And I know, Melissa, volleyball, you'll be busy the next month, but you'll be in the loop email wise.
Perfect.
We'll be here.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting this on. I so appreciate it. And Scott, I'll reach out to you as well. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. And I'm sure you guys are always busy. So thank you for fitting us in.
No, thank you. This is great. Lovely way to spend the evening.
All right, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Lou and Scott. Just wanted to say thank you again. This was fabulous.
Thank you. I didn't know you were going to take us quite that direction, but it worked incredibly well.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that so crazy? Because then it's going out of our head. It's going into just it's just magical. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I think for the next one,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go through the beginning much quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But people wanted to talk and tell their
No,
story.
it's important. It builds that community.
Yeah, it creates safety when you
Yeah.
know who is on the call. It's really important, actually,
I
for
didn't think you
people
were
to
too
be.
long, Lou. I think it's fine. And those guys, no one there was fidgeting or thinking that we were going late. They were all
Okay.
activated.
All right.
Mhm.
I just was mindful, but everybody stayed for the extra 15 or so minutes, and didn't seem to
I think
be a
if we
problem.
have like twice as many people, we might have to all just be aware, just because we won't be able to get
Yeah.
all their thoughts in that time. And their thoughts are awesome, but as long as we leave time for the exercise and those thoughts, it was really good idea generation.
Yep. And I think the Melissas were awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're all, Erin, this was her first Eco Athletes event.
But Aaron,
Um,
I mean, if you think about, okay, Notre Dame, you brought up football, you think of every CYO football league across the country, Notre Dame could be a leader to all of those. There's so much textile waste tied to youth football. I mean, there's so many avenues we could go down just from the few ideas that they brought up today.
and she's starting a green athletes group
Yeah,
at
which
Notre
is
Dame.
amazing.
Wow. Amazing.
And so, and she lives in Oradell, New Jersey, which
And
is
how,
just,
I mean, how like do you connect her with Lou so she can make a difference to college athletics? You know, she's already
Yeah.
got something she could take there and make it greener.
and then there's this other thing that's, I don't know if it's called Spirit of Football. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's football meaning soccer in this case. And it's basically these three guys who, starting with the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan, kicked a soccer ball from London to wherever the World Cup was. And they did it for a different cause every 4 years. And now they've made their cause climate change, and and they're actually skipping the Qatar World Cup, and they're focusing on the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. And they're kicking they're having multiple balls, all of which, the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the guys who is the drivers of it is a Notre Damer, and he's trying to get the ball at a Notre Dame football game. And I'm thinking, could we figure out something with Erin and her Green Athletes group to loop into the journey of the ball at Notre Dame?
And have like you have some sort of activation tied to it that was a sustainability textile activation. That would be sweet.
And I'm clued into those guys.
You know, I think this opened the door to a lot of stuff, which is great. That was the whole point.
Yep.
I think there'll be several of those athletes who will want to do some individual projects as well, which is also great, because that's how we'll fund some of these other ones.
And I also think, Daniela, you were great with getting everybody involved. And and Susan, who usually doesn't speak up so much, she was great. And Ridian will always, Ridian puts his 2 cents in there.
It was a great group, Lou, and that's exactly what we're looking for.
And you're talking like, Ridian is a 2-time Olympian. He got 6th place, I believe, in Tokyo in the 50-kilometer walk. Melissa volleyball she and her partner beach volleyball, they're ascendant. They came in 5th in Tokyo, but that was an off day for them. They're top 3 in the world.
Wow.
Wow.
She has about 60, 70,000 social followers.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see, Susan Dunkley is doing her school at Craftsbury in Vermont, and Erin is just starting out at Notre Dame. So you had
Good from all different areas that they.
And also different generations. That was interesting to hear the input from different generational perspectives.
And Melissa Callison, she is a sailor, but not at the Olympic or elite level. And she lives on a boat, off the coast of Maine right now, but she's moving down to Newport, Rhode Island, and she started this Oceanum Bella, which takes repurposed elite racing sails and turns them into duffel bags and handbags and all sorts of stuff. And so I bet she will have more ideas. And she I think, Scott, you and she should connect.
Yeah, because we're actually doing a
Mhm.
similar project with wind sail surfs. Or
So-
wind surf sails, sorry.
Right.
Because
And-
here out here in Hood
I'm
River,
gonna-
is the home of windsurfing. So we have
You have
tons-
to go, Danielle.
I'm gonna, yeah, I have to jump off, but thank you again. And I'll see you bright and early.
Oh, there's
So
a
Danielle,
Thursday.
at least lunch or something on me for this, to make this up to you. Let me know when.
Sure. Awesome.
It's
Yeah.
only fair.
And yeah. No, that sounds good. Do you see I made the introduction to Victor?
Yes, and I'm gonna send, he's gonna be an amazing, we need his expertise on the TAC.
Yes.
And
I
I saw
agree.
a cat just walk by.
Perfect. Thank you guys both.
Okay.
See
all right.
you all in a
Thank
couple
you.
days. I
Yep.
don't think we need to change anything on the agenda. The slides all worked, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
I just think I want to go through it more quickly so we can get to, I think getting to where Daniela is that's what gets them engaged. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
Awesome.
Well, I think
Okay.
you did a fine job emceeing anyway, Lou. So
Yeah, you're
leave it up to
fantastic.
you.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
See y'all.
Bye.
Thanks again, Daniela.
Bye. See ya. Bye.